Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co, the fastest, craziest internet experience. Actually, one way to describe this, which is so awesome, is somebody said the other day, TRI, everybody, this is crypto without the crypto. So welcome back, everybody, to our daily brief offering through midweek. We basically do this Monday to Friday. We have a really special guest. We're super excited. What an all-star that I've just been seeing knock the cover off the ball online on Twitter. Super smart guy, was really excited, really stoked that he was agreeable to come in and chat with us today. A gentleman by the name of, well, he goes by the name of, what is it, Carpe Noctem? Did I get that right?
You did.
On Twitter, Josh. I've put his picture up on there. Everybody can see him. Welcome, sir. As you can see in the Hangout, we've got quite an audience here who, when I mentioned this on the site, they were all really excited to hear your thoughts on the market. And basically, that's going to be sort of our special focus here today on this daily brief. So Brian always talks way too much, so I apologize if I'm rambling here. I'm just like a little schoolgirl all excited. But anyway, welcome, sir. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. Maybe what I thought we do here is try and keep this about a half hour, 45 minutes. I don't want to take up too much of your time. In essence, I put together a little just sort of Q&A sort of walkthrough of this interview with you. And so the first thing I thought maybe we would do right off the top is just maybe give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, maybe tell us a little bit about how you got started in crypto and how you got started in trading.
Sure, yeah. So my big thing was I had a mutual fund in like 2013 that was failing essentially, and I decided to figure out what to do with it. I began to invest there, researching ideas, things to do, take it out, leave it there, put it in a Vanguard fund, something like that. And I don't know how exactly I settled on Bitcoin and crypto, but I got really lucky in that respect. I think I heard about Bitcoin first on Slashdot for 2013, but then I started researching it some more. I talked with a friend who actually was investing in Litecoin at the time, and decided to go headlong into it all. I'm a fan of like difficult problems and things with the high skill ceiling, so both trading and Bitcoin really met that condition really well.
You really like the challenge, eh?
Yeah, definitely. I need to be like intellectually stimulated all the time.
And you're from the U.S. Midwest, is that correct?
Yeah, so born and raised in Michigan, currently in Washington, D.C.
Cool. Did you have much of a trading history prior to getting interested in crypto?
No, so my background is biology and biotechnology, and originally I was trying to get into medical school and go that route, but the student loans were just killing me, which is another reason why I was focused more on like investing. And I don't really know how I got involved with charting, honestly. I think I found like the Bitcoin market subreddit and got on Whale Pool or Whale Club at the time, and which was really small. There was like 20 people. It was really great to like bounce ideas back and forth. And
that's with the oh geez, I remember. Do you remember back in 2013? I don't know whether you remember that. There was a bunch of us sort of chatting away on TradingView, and a bunch of them went and formed that Whale. Was it Whale Club or is that a different thing?
Yeah, it was Whale Club. Yeah, it was Flipper.
People?
Yeah, Flipper, BTC Vix, and then Bonavest had like his own Google Hangout show.
That's cool.
So yeah, I sort of connected with that community, and yeah, knowing nothing, going from zero. So before 2013, I knew absolutely nothing about trading, charting, economics, any of this stuff. So that's where I am today.
If anybody who is watching this, if you follow my Twitter feed, or of course if you follow Josh's, he put out a really cool piece just maybe about an hour or so before the broadcast here today on Brave New Coin, his Bitcoin price analysis and the looming SegWit 2X. Of course, all of our site members were feverishly reading this before we started today. I can, you can look on my Twitter feed. Of course, you can follow Josh on Twitter and get this. But, frankly speaking, reading this, you're one smart dude, man. Beautiful work with all your tools. And I certainly would not suggest to anyone that this was coming from a guy that's only been in the space a couple of years and had never done any TA before. So way to go, man. Steep learning curve, and you own this thing.
Yeah, I think what helps me personally is I'm extremely a visual learner. So, I can look at spreadsheets and get nothing, but I can look at charts and patterns and Ichimoku Cloud and just instantly see what I think I'm seeing anyway, as far as like trends or patterns, whatever. So that's really helped. That's really helped me. I don't know what other people.
Just so you're aware, people are asking Josh whether you sign body parts.
No. I mean, I will. Sure, why not?
That's a great question that came from YouTube, but just caught my attention. I was just like, that's hilarious. Okay, so actually, I heard you mention something just a moment ago, and I think it's probably not a bad lead-in. And, by all means, I don't necessarily see it here if you want to give me a link or something to a favorite chart, but tell me a little bit about is there any particular indicator or tool that really speaks to you as a trader?
Yeah, so I think if you follow me at all, you realize I post a lot about Ichimoku Cloud.
Ichi boom boom.
Yeah, and some people really don't like it, and some people love it. And again, it was one of those things that was seemingly very difficult to understand initially, but tells you an enormous amount of information without anything else, which really helped me. And the most important part, I think, was the fact that it draws itself. There's zero subjectivity once the settings are in. So, you see people constantly adjusting Elliott waves or triangles, chart patterns, whatever. But the cloud doesn't do any of that. It is always there. It's ever present. It sort of tries to predict the market ahead of time with the displacement of the cloud.
Should we maybe, and I guess, I don't personally teach the cloud. I haven't traded with it personally, but I do see there's a lot of merit in it. So do you on your, like, I suppose for the screenshot here, we should probably have a nice chart that has your Itchy sort of set up on it. So let's see while you're chatting away there. And then also too, what I would ask is, and we do get quite a few of these requests, where did you learn? Did you actually have to pay somebody to learn this, or were there resources on the net that you can mine to learn? What would you suggest if somebody was like, oh, I want to learn that too? What do I do?
Yeah, so I'll just post the chart in the box.
Oh, sick.
It's just the hourly.
Whoa, look at that. Oh my God, he's a Hangout Pro too. Awesome. All right, here we go. So, all right. So, and as I said before, I mean, when I look at this, there's a lot of moving parts. So I'm certainly not going to ask you to explain how this works here, but is there like a resource or something that you would suggest people go to if you would like to learn how to use Itchy?
Sure, yeah. So again, this is one of those things that I saw in a Hangout or Whale Club at the time. People not knowing what they're talking about exactly. But how I learned it was from this guy called, what's his name? Blanking on his name. But it was him and Rob Booker. Videos on YouTube, completely free. Okay.
Awesome.
Didn't pay a dime. Between those two individuals and like Investopedia, it's just reading, Googling things around. That's how I learned cloud. And I also have a YouTube channel that I do a lot of explanations about cloud on.
You have an Itchy channel? Did I hear
Yeah,
that correctly?
yeah. So I have a YouTube channel. I talk a lot about.
Oh, right on. So if you have that link, I'll put that in the YouTube video and I'll put it on the site for people if they're interested. So thank you very much for that information. That's awesome. Well, look at that. There's his YouTube link as well. There you go. So everybody who's watching this video, I think Josh is going to get a million new signups here today. So you know, if we can pump you up, awesome. And look at these beautiful videos. Oh, I can't wait to dig into this. Yummy, yummy. Looks awesome. Look at this. I've subscribed.
Nice. Thank you.
So, and everybody watching this, not a bad idea. Go ahead and subscribe as well. Okay, so you're a big fan of Itchy.
Yeah. So, you know, essentially, it's moving averages set a couple different ways. It's
well,
not
the cool part about Itchy is it was actually written and designed by a guy who wasn't a stock trader.
Exactly.
He didn't even know what the fuck he was doing. So
Yeah.
if anything, that's awesome because that's like sort of fresh eyes, eh?
Yeah, he was a journalist, and he took 30 years to put it together. But yeah, that's pretty cool too. I didn't know that initially, but yeah, so it's just, you know, it's moving averages, it's signals, it's a checklist of things you're looking at for entries and exits, basically.
Okay, and I guess now that you know, it sounds to me like you're primarily interested in crypto. Do you trade any other assets or asset classes other than crypto?
Yeah, so I'll trade anything that I can access with Bitcoin or crypto. So that includes FX, stocks.
I think somebody was telling me that you have a one broker, sort of one of those follow things.
Yeah.
All right, if you have that link, we wouldn't mind firing that up so people can follow you over there too.
Sure.
But basically, so do you use the Simple FX platform too?
I've used it. I don't use it too often. The spreads are really high, so it's really tough.
So if you had a recommendation or a choice for people who are in this space that would like to consider trading other assets through crypto, what would sort of be your recommendation?
My recommendation would definitely be one broker first, but you know, use everything, and just what you don't like, don't use. If you're not making money on it, if you're not making money on the platform, you know, maybe it's the platform, maybe it's not you. Usually it's you, but sometimes it's the platform.
Okay, cool. So one broker, hopefully, and did you give us your link there? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So not a bad idea. Do you have like a referral code or something like that? Is that how does that work?
That's what that was. I can show you.
Okay, so R2529. That's we got to remember to track Josh, correct?
Yeah, 2529. That's me.
Okay, Mr. 2529. There he is. So, I got to log in to do that. So anyway, point of the matter here is if you'd like to follow Josh on one broker, and if you'd like to trade the rest of the markets that he's interested through crypto, there is an excellent opportunity for you. Okay. And so even within the crypto space, are you concentrated specifically on Bitcoin, or do you like these senior altcoins? Do you dare touch a shitcoin?
I dabbled, you know, in March this year when things turned bullish, you know, when alts were really living. I was involved in quite a few. First on Poloniex, then on Bittrex. I think it's interesting how the altcoin market, like the exchanges have evolved from being just Poloniex and like what was the one with Big Vern?
It's not Big Vern. Oh, I haven't heard that name in a while. Jeez. You remember? Well, there was Crapsy. You remember Crapsy? Was he?
Yeah, Cripsy. That's it.
Yeah. And we called it Crapsy. But Big Vern, God, I haven't heard that name in a while. Oh, isn't that funny? That totally brings back memories.
So that's where I started, and with altcoins, it's on Cripsy.
Yeah. So the bottom line here is your charts all started to flash major bull signs in the altcoins last spring, eh?
Yeah, and it was mainly just the 5200 cross on like the daily, the EMA crosses.
The
But
5200 cross? Can you clarify that?
yeah, so the 50 EMA and the 200 EMA.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, our golden cross. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly. It was mainly
The level tours just did moving averages, so Nils is absolutely in love with that. So great call there, Nils. Excellent job. Yeah. So isn't that interesting? So you just use the most simplest proxy just to simply tell you the trend, eh?
Yeah, that was another thing why I settled on cloud. Everyone's looking for like the holy grail of like 50 indicators and 25 oscillators, but the cloud just boils it down to everything I need to see.
And did you see a lot of these alts? I guess what would it be, like a transition from below the cloud to above the cloud? Did you see a lot of that action through the spring in altcoin land?
I did, yeah.
And are you seeing that now?
No. No, it's a lot of below the cloud, continuing below the cloud.
Yeah, the altcoin market's a bit challenging right now, isn't it?
Yeah, they're definitely not anything I'd want to be in.
All right, actually, and that's an interesting. Somebody had asked earlier. So, and not a bad dovetail, but do you do any buy and hold strategies, or are you just flipping these things when they start rolling over?
It kind of depends if they're smaller. I don't really have like a hard cutoff, but like a small cap, shitcoin, if you will, is definitely cut it and run, sort of run and gun situation. But
Okay.
the bigger stuff I still have. I just hold on to it.
Okay. And it'd be interesting if I understand correctly. Ichi sort of signaling systems above the cloud. That's primarily like a trend following system.
Correct. Yeah.
So, are you like a bottom fisher at all in these kind of names?
Not really, not right now. There are ways the cloud can tell you things, such as being overbought or oversold, and you can use that as a tell for a buy. So, like, not for instance, like a long time ago, months ago at this point, was showing a really good bottom signal. Now, I not knowing about the developer situation, bought it. It pumped.
The NAUT, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, NAUT.
That's Brian Kelly's little treat to the world, eh?
So yeah, not knowing about that or like the developer being deceased or any of that stuff, but the chart looked okay for up, and it went up from there. Zeke was a similar situation early on a few weeks ago.
Cool, awesome. Okay, why don't we maybe, I don't want, time goes by so quickly here, and we do have a bunch of questions from the audience I would like to get to, but maybe you could take just 5 minutes or so, if you wouldn't mind. And maybe can you just summarize, what is the message out of what are you seeing in the charts out of Bitcoin right now? What's the message people, in your opinion, should be really hearing right now?
Sure. So the point of the Brave New Coin article is like a fundamental view and a technical view, mainly for people who aren't like plugged in like we are 24/7 to this stuff. So that's the top half is fundamentals. We can come back to that. But the bottom half, what I'm seeing is a hastening of the long-standing 2015 bull trend. So we're getting closer to things like euphoria and the end, the interim end of the trend. We're going to see just massive wicks, massive candles on the daily, I think.
I always say that Bitcoin doesn't like to end a move without some sort of horrendous blow off top.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're much closer to that now than we were a few weeks ago. So I'm seeing that. I'm seeing reversal patterns like the rising wedge, 3 drives pattern, that are potentially ending around 10,000 USD.
Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. And, that's going to be a big, fat, round psychological number. Interesting how 2013 peak, right? 1,000 went a little bit above and then, had to come back down. I wonder maybe if we got to do that with 10,000 this go around. I suppose that's possible. Okay, so the basic message you're saying is too late to buy, too early to sell. Is that what it is?
It's really hard to say. You know, when you look at the order book and coin on GDEX or Bitfinex, when these buys hit, it's like nothing's for sale. You know.
Yeah, well, and that's also an issue too, right? Is that we're at all-time highs, so it's not like you're going to have people that are like sleeping on the couch working orders against old highs because they bought those, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I can understand the order book stand, and of course, you know, okay, so the technical pictures we're still pointing up, but we're fast approaching some pretty big targets.
Yeah.
And we're fairly late in the move. That's sort of what I'm hearing, and that's sort of what I heard about the take I took away from this.
Yeah.
So now maybe let's talk a little bit about fundamentals, because obviously, you know, for us that are in this sort of space here day to day, and really, I'd love, you know, the worst part about it for me is that I'm a trader dude, right? I was broker forever, kind of stuff. I trade. I'm not a crypto expert by any means, and it's just interesting to listen and watch this virtual almost war going on fundamentally internally on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind, maybe if you wouldn't mind, just maybe just give us like 5 minutes. What the hell is going on here?
Yeah. So
Fundamentally, that is.
yeah, if we rewind the clock to well, I forget which month it was, but when a consensus occurred, this conference in New York brought a bunch of people together. Barry Silbert, being the head of all this, devised this thing called the New York Agreement, which at the time tried to prevent things like Bitcoin Cash further split or further forking. Okay, so it tried to get everybody on the same page. It happened, it occurred, and a bunch of businesses signed it, and they said, we're going to use SegWit, we're going to also double the block size. So at the time, it was just going to be SegWit or Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Unlimited with unlimited block size. So this was like a compromise, okay? And the community, you know, even the chart at the time, everyone thought it was great. And the problem was that they sort of were pushing things a little fast with the agreement. So they mentioned at the time a hard fork in November to double the block size. So in between that time, we got the UASF, which brought on SegWit on its own, and we have SegWit now. So it's kind of like bringing us up to speed to now. So we have SegWit, and this SegWit 2x hard fork deadline is approaching. And there's a bunch of people on both sides, far fewer people on the SegWit 2x side, trying to continue to push for that block size increase.
So I keep hearing people talking about they're not going to honor this SegWit 2x because they're worried about double spends.
Yeah.
So can you maybe take a moment and just consider Brian an idiot? It's pretty easy to do that. What the hell are they talking about?
Sure. So this
that was supposed to be a joke, by the way. I guess it didn't go over very well.
They're concerned with things like replay protection, which is being able to spend the same transaction on both chains. So unless there's ways to, like, in the code to prevent this, I'm pretty sure it's just like an address change. So like Bitcoin's first digit is 1 or 3, and SegWit 2x would be a different digit. I don't know exactly, but that's a way to prevent that, and they decided to not do that. Their excuse being it's an upgrade, it's not a fork. So exchanges are having a hard time knowing what to do with that. You know, is it two things separately? Is it just Bitcoin? You know, so that's why everyone's sort of deciding how are we going to decide what's Bitcoin? Is it going to be hash rate? Is it going to be nodes? Is it going to be difficulty? You know, whatever it is, that's what we're sort of deciding on now.
Interesting question from Benjamin here. Why do you think it's so contentious?
So a lot of that is, which I agree with. There's one developer, so there's no peer review, there's no like testing per se. There's virtually no support that I've seen from the community. There's all these polls all around the world now that are coming out from communities that say virtually no one supports this. There's only a select group of businesses that support this, and it's kind of like this corporate cabal of people. And I don't really know the incentive here, honestly. Like, if we double the block size, there's some centralization of mining because it requires you to be able to hold on to the ledger, size-wise. But I don't really know what the big deal is here, other than getting rid of people from core, which somebody mentioned. There's a lot of core hate on both the Bitcoin Cash and the Segwit 2x camps that I don't really understand.
Okay. And by all means, we've got some extremely smart crypto peeps in our community here. Anybody within the community on the site or anything can add to this. Brian is always learning, 35 years into this. Oh, geez, keep learning every day. So I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much, Josh, for that basic summary of sort of what you're seeing here. I guess long and short of it here is, and let's just call a spade a spade. I noticed at the bottom of your article, you basically just said here that you probably are looking for the traders to just simply hop off and sort of wait this out. Are you suggesting that it's enough of a catalyst that that's not such a bad idea for Joe Sixpack to just maybe just let the dust settle here before we make any big decisions? Or do you think that that's just speaking to the trader community?
Well, if you can't stomach like a 50% drop in price, which we may see, I don't want to FUD this even further, but nobody really knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
so yeah,
listeners. I'm sorry.
If you're Joe Sixpack, I would wait a little longer, but I would consider exiting before the fork.
Okay. Well, so you've heard it from the man. Everybody be warned. And so the big catalyst, and this is the kind of weird thing in this space, because the forking technically doesn't have an exact date and time. It's almost like a window based on whatever block it is, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So do you think it's at all a coincidence that the CME group, they're trying to list this thing ahead of that forking event?
I don't really know if they even know what Segwit 2x is, honestly. I mean, you have to assume that somebody there knows like something, like they have some blockchain consultant or Bitcoin consultant or something. But
it seemed odd to me that they first put out the news release, we're going to list sometime in Q4, and then all of a sudden the other day they're like, okay, we're going to have this thing online by the 14th of November. Now, why are they pushing? It just seemed a little odd to me.
Yeah, they've been working on it for months. Like, I know people who are connected with them who have been telling me it's coming, but I don't know why exactly November 14th.
Okay.
I know
another question that I had for you, and I don't know whether you follow the casino or not.
Yeah,
but clearly casino has disconnected here. Something has massively disconnected.
Yeah.
And so any thoughts, any comments why the casino is underperforming so much here these days?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing both on BitMEX quarterly and OKCoin quarterly is pricing in that uncertainty of Segwit 2x. That's what I think.
Uncertainty, or these guys basically said we're just not going to honor the fork, and so people are like sort of running into cash to try and get the dividend. Is that possibly something that might be going on here?
That's possible, but
is it wrong to look at these forks like dividends?
I don't think so. That's exactly how I treated Bitcoin Cash. It's you got it for free.
Yeah.
As long as you got Bitcoin in your wallet. Anybody who wants the dividend is just going to buy Bitcoin before the snapshot.
And that leads to another question. Have you got your Bitcoin Gold credited to your accounts anywhere yet?
No, so I think unless it was on Bitfinex, you got it like nearly immediately. I haven't really checked, but I haven't got.
Everybody else is just waiting.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're blockchain. Like, I don't know anything about it. The stats, the mining hash rate, anything.
Okay, cool. All right, so big catalyst going forward. Obviously, the fork is something we definitely have to be watching for here.
What else is interesting is the fork is like the top of this trend, interim top of the trend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's exactly perfectly lined up for like the middle of the month or December or something like that.
Yeah. And me technically, I've been following this megaphone for a while here, and I just find it incredibly coincidental that, yeah, here comes that big ugly date. Okay, I think I've asked all the questions I want to ask. Now let's maybe pop on over to the viewer questions. How you feeling, Josh? Are you still feeling good here?
Yeah, we can keep going. Let me just get some water real quick.
Okay, I don't want to burn you out here.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right, so while we're waiting for Josh to pop back in, somebody had asked, Ichimoku Cloud, do you have some settings? So Raf, if you're here, we answered that question earlier. We answered to a certain degree about the buy and hold question from Eric. Eric, if you want to talk to me about Nanny Nibbles and Little Old Lady strategies later on, feel free to PM me. I'm more than happy to chat with you about that. Clearly, it sounds like Josh is not overly excited about holding on to these things as they're tanking here.
Yeah, I mean, you either sold already. Yet? Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, so for alts, you either sold already or you're just going to hold, because are you going to sell this, 80% of the bottom maybe? That's my view on it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and he was just sort of like, do you just keep riding these things down? Hopefully, Eric, when you buy these things, you are selling on the way up and establishing free positions. But as I said, Eric, we can talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so some questions here. And this is an interesting question James asked. He says, I see you are on Altcoin.io's list of advisors. Can you tell us anything about it?
Sure, yeah. So again, I got involved because I'm just trying to get a better exchange. I have trouble.
Is that this page? Like that?
Yeah.
Altcoin.io?
That's them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so a bunch of us traders were approached from a guy, Andrew Garzik. Is that his name? Is it Garzik? So he's at the bottom there. Anyway, we were approached by this guy who has a background in Gazdeki. I'm sorry.
Hey, there you are. You're the number 4 man on.
Yeah, I don't think the order means much. But we were just approached by him because he was setting up a new exchange, wanted our input. So I said, yeah, I mean, I've been using exchanges, almost every exchange I've tried to use at this point in time. So we're just trying to make a better exchange.
You think these guys got a shot?
They have a lot. Andrew's a super motivated guy behind the scenes. There's a lot.
And in essence, like, I've always made the argument that if crypto has an Achilles heel, it's these centralized exchanges. So does this try to sort of remove that part of the equation?
Yeah, and one of the biggest things he's focused on is the custodial risk of all these exchanges. The hacks with Bitfinex and Mt. Gox and all the other ones. If we can prevent that, then obviously that's better for everybody, right? Except for hackers. So I think it's going to be a little different than what people maybe expect out of an exchange. Could be good, could be bad. I don't know. We'll find out. But DEXs traditionally have problems with liquidity, so that's really another big focus of how we're going to get liquidity on a decentralized exchange.
Is this like BTS? Wasn't that bit? Was it? Was that? I might have that wrong.
Yeah, so
Isn't that?
BitShares, they do have a DEX as well, which I tried to use but couldn't really figure out how. uh,
Is that sort of along the same lines?
yeah, there are others, definitely. There's CoinPit.io as well, which is decentralized. But again, it's like the order books are super thin, spreads are huge. It's hard to get people to use these.
It's like Cryptopia.
Yeah, that one I haven't actually used, but
Cryptopia could drive a truck through the spreads. It's hilarious.
yeah, and if there's no like
Don't market buy on Cryptopia.
if there's no market
Didn't mean to
makers,
interrupt there.
no, that's okay. Yeah. If there's, I don't really know why, honestly, why there's a huge spread. Like that's probably you know more than me, but
Well, that's there. And if anything, you actually answered it. And the weird sort of thing is, it's sort of like people won't trade on these exchanges till there's liquidity. But to get liquidity, people have to trade on the exchanges. So it's one of these sort of back and forth.
mm-hmm.
And then eventually you sort of hit this sort of what do you call it? A level at which it's almost like, okay, it's been accepted. And then the liquidity just pours in.
Yeah.
Tipping point, yeah. I think that the decentralized exchanges, their days are coming. But I'd also say too, and this is sort of a, Big Brother's probably watching this and they're probably taking notes, and I'm sure they already know this, but I would actually make the argument that if these decentralized exchanges ever do actually get going and catch, then the days of fiat currency system are numbered. It's over. So this, in my opinion, is a massive catalyst that if it can catch, and this is just Brian ranting here, I think it changes the game forever. So huge event here. Let's hope this happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't have to be this one. There could be multiple decentralized exchanges, but even seeing the regulations out of China, if there was a decentralized exchange that got around the Great Firewall, what is China going to do about it?
Yeah. Well, and what would be really cool down the road is we'll have a decentralized exchange of decentralized exchanges.
Yeah.
And it just goes on to infinity, right?
Yeah, it's just like multiple nodes that are exchanges all over the world, and there's nothing to do about
it. Okay, next question. So that was a really awesome question, James. Thank you very much for posting that. Okay, with the last two BTC forks, what are the pros, cons from your perspective? Do they add value, improve, disrupt the space? From Joshua, what do you think?
Love that first name. It's a strong Christian name.
Cool. I already got bonus points there. I used to work with a guy who used to say, man, don't ever mess with the BTC or just leave it alone. And he was so upset when this fork stuff started to happen. So I think this is actually a really good question.
Yeah, I think there are multiple angles to look at this. There are people like that who get upset, with brand dilution or introducing scams. It's very clear based on the framing and naming of Bitcoin Cash that they're trying to take people who are on the fence about anything and sort of steal that market share, get that new money, and calling Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin, things like that. Just really like not things that don't pass the smell test. So there's that part of it, but there's the other part of it where this is decentralization at its best. Okay, so if you don't like it, tough. It's gonna happen anyway. It's bound to happen. The fact that they're getting auto listed on all these huge exchanges just further incentivizes it. And love or hate Bitcoin Cash, but it was a success from the perspective that they created whatever it is now, 10 billion out of nowhere, literally just said, okay, there's a new chain, here's $10 billion.
That's shocking, eh?
Yeah, it is. And who doesn't want to do that if they're trying to get money? It took
talk about an easy way to become a millionaire.
Yeah. It takes people like Ver and Wu, who are head of Bitmain, Wu specifically, but it takes people like that to be a catalyst for the huge influx of users, definitely. But then the other part of it is all of this drummed up a bunch of drama in the media, which people love to read about. So it's just general more exposure for Bitcoin. So I'm all for it. You know, it's a free dividend, and there's a huge media circus about all of this. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Josh, for the question, and thank you, Josh, for the answer. All right. I know who asked this question. He didn't put his name, but I already know who asked this. But anyway, what do you think about Stellar Lumens getting bought by IBM? Do you think this is transactions that's going to be what's this? Do you think the transactions that are going to be by using Stellar will wake the bulls up? Not quite sure what that means, but what do you think about Stellar? Do you follow XLM at all?
I do. I've actually, so I've been to a couple conferences where IBM has talked about their DLT, decentralized ledger technology.
Mm-hmm.
I've also talked to the Stellar team directly about a few things. So Stellar is interesting. I didn't realize they had a decentralized exchange aspect to Stellar. They have like an atomic swap aspect. If you're following Metronome by Jeff Garzik, you know, there's a similarity there where everybody's trying to figure out this atomic swap issue. You know, how do I give you X for Y without an intermediary? So Stellar is good at that from what I've seen. I tried to use Stellar on the website, and it was like impossible for me to use. Somebody who's been using crypto for a while. So there's that issue. But back to IBM. IBM is kind of all about this supply chain thing and Internet of Things thing. So if XLM starts to be used for those purposes, which is certainly a possibility, I think that'll drive demand and drive price higher. Another one last thing to look at is they're also introducing ICOs on Stellar.
Oh boy.
So that could be another interesting catalyst. Here's one, Mobius, if you want to check it out.
This is one of their upcoming ICOs. I think I remember Michael talking about this.
Yeah, and somehow...
and do you find that what ends up happening with these ICO launchers is the coin itself gets bid up because people have to buy this to get into this thing?
Through the ICO or on an exchange?
Well, I noticed like Ethereum went nuts there when it's just pumping out all these ICOs. And the logic that I sort of used in my head was, well, if people want to buy these ICOs, they got to buy Ethereum to get in. So that's why Ethereum's price is going up.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, definitely. That a very clear driver of demand and price when that was insanity was going on.
All right, so the long and short of it here is if these guys try to cash in on what Ethereum's done, get ready. All hell could break loose here, right?
Yeah, I think IBM is probably a better route because I feel like the ICO stuff sort of cooled off for a while. I think we're going to see a lot of securitized ICOs, which get through the regulation.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So it'd be interesting. Actually, we got to keep going here. Jeez, I thank you so much for taking the time to talk.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever, I'm here.
All right. So next question. Okay. Are there any crypto projects in development that we need to keep an eye on right now? That you would recommend that, hey guys, keep your eye on these guys.
Yeah, so back to the security ICOs thing. I'm a big not ICO believer. So
you are an ICO believer or a non-ICO? I didn't hear that. Sorry.
I'm a non-ICO believer. I'm kind of like
okay. So anti-ICOs. Okay.
Yeah, I mean you can certainly make money from them, but in general I'm anti-ICO. So, but what I'm looking at is Poly.math. They're trying to make securitized ICOs easier.
Poly.math.
Yeah.
Like that?
It's
Polymath project.
I'm trying to find it. But yeah, they're trying to basically give a legal framework for ICOs to be a security.
Polymath.network, is that what I should type in here, Tom?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Tom's like super smart. He's like rocket science dude.
So
All
like,
right.
should you invest? No, I don't think so. But it's just something interesting to watch. If this allows for like the second coming of ICOs, maybe not polymath, but anything, anything that can get around the regulations easily.
Yeah.
Not get around, but navigate the regulations.
Yeah. Navigate. Yeah. I like that.
So that's one thing I'm watching, and then I'm also part of this other project called Experty.io, and
I'm sorry. What was that again?
it's Experty.io.
Oh, you're gonna make my life easy and help me here. Awesome. You're the man, dude. Jesus, who are you? You're brilliant, and you're nice, and you're helpful too. Jeez, I want more of you in my life.
There's the link.
All right, expertise.io.
Yeah. So what this is it's a TGE, technically token generation event, but it's basically an ICO, and it creates a platform for like people like you and me to sell our time and expertise on the blockchain, basically. So you would set a rate, like $10 an hour. I would call you, and after the call is finished, it would all get settled in the Ethereum blockchain, and there's no haggling between
That's
people.
sick, man. Cool.
So the reason I'm involved with that is because I use it myself, and it's hard to like scale. I'm sure people hit you up all the time for like micro advice or mentoring, coaching, things like that. So
just be very, very careful. This is just a guy that worked in the securities industry for like 20, 30 years, eh?
yeah,
Be very careful with that, because especially in like state of Michigan and stuff. Yeah, I don't know whether you're aware, like in the U.S.
Yeah.
If I wanted to be a broker in the U.S., you actually have to be registered in each state, and you aren't even allowed to talk to somebody in a different state about stocks. Oh boy, that's big no-no.
Yeah, so I'm not recommending you invest. It's just the project I'm watching.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. All I'm just saying is, from a broker dude, I've played, when Big Brother finally does come into the space, a lot of the sort of advisory kind of stuff here, it's going to be really tightened up. And I'm really worried about guys that really don't have a lot of history that are going just, oh yeah, buy that, you'll make $1 million. Oh boy, that's actually got lawsuits written all over it. They're not here now, but if Bitcoin quote unquote is accepted, and we can all see they're coming, then Big Brother will be coming. Yeah. So anyway, that's just another Brian rant. Sorry.
I agree. That's why all my videos start with a disclaimer about educational information.
Okay. Yeah, and Garrett's already saying ICO shills is the clampdown's already here.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so somebody's asked a question, and just a quick maybe yes or no, but really the answer, Raf, should be visit Josh's YouTube page. But he says here, do you always use double cloud settings? Does that mean anything to you, double cloud settings?
Yeah, so again, I just happened to stumble upon somebody's like cloud stuff. It was Lemogui on TradingView is his name, but what he did was sort of look at the settings of the cloud, which are generally for 5-day-a-week, 8-hour day markets.
Yeah.
And he said, crypto's 24/7. We need to change this a little bit. It might work better. So he changed it, and I started using it, and it really helps.
Cool. So Benjamin says here that slows it down a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the single settings, so there's default settings, which are 9.
Are these the where my mouse is? Are these sort of your settings?
Correct.
Okay.
So cool. There's default, which is 9, 26, 52, 26.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's crypto, which is 10, 30, 60, 30, which is all adjusted for days of the month. And then I double that to give me the 20, 60, 120, 30. And the reason of the doubling is to smooth out the data, decrease noise. You get much better signals.
All right, Raf, does that answer your question? Where's that Raf guy? Yeah, there he is. Awesome.
I posted a video of me explaining that for my YouTube channel.
Okay, so Change Society asked for some references, resources about the Itchy. So Change, we posted Josh's YouTube page. Probably good idea to bury yourself in there for a few days. Okay, he also asked, are there any sort of must-read sources, books, stuff that you think are just sort of like, if you want to be a trader, you really have to have read this book? Anything like that you can think of?
I haven't really connected with anything reading-wise specifically
Okay.
for trading. I know Chat with Traders is a good podcast. I sort of listened to some of them, but lost interest. Yeah, so I didn't read anything personally other than like Investopedia and other like resources like that.
Okay. All right. Alex asks, how do you manage your emotions? And he puts in brackets, stays rational, like that, Alex, in a parabolic market like this.
So being through 2013 really helps this because you realize that it's not going to last forever, and it lets you gauge the emotions a little bit better. I think Twitter is a huge resource for that too. I'm not really seeing a lot of emotion right now as far as Twitter is concerned, surprisingly. Maybe it's just me, but so personally managing your emotions.
You know what I've heard that surprised me recently was, do you remember we used to always see those tweets, the look on your face when Bitcoin hits, right? Do you remember those?
Yeah.
And if we ever were in like a face rip bull market, those things just came flying out of the woodwork. I don't see any of that kind of talk anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we see like every $100 or whatever, like the things on Bitcoin subreddit where it's like, oh, we had blah blah blah, but yeah, I don't know. People at this point, we've just been going up for so long. I said I kind of have like all-time high fatigue syndrome.
Yeah, that's good. And like for whatever it's worth, I was a broker through the .com boom. Exact same thing. Exact same thing.
Yeah.
No difference. And the sad part about it is there were like tried and stayed professionals that were like, this is ridiculous, people. You guys are just chasing a dream here. And as long as the dream continued, then people would look at them and go, you're worthless. As soon as the dream ended and the market woke up back to reality, oh boy. So that's a really good question, Alex.
With all these publications printing, like bubble this, bubble that, all these professors, like this isn't never going to work. What is this? There's no fundamental blah, 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 But we've heard that this whole time, and it just keeps going up. So,
well, and that's the irony of it all. I would make the argument that the top will come when those people acquiesce and they go, okay, yeah, I guess go and buy it. What the hell?
Yeah.
As soon as they're on board, then the top's here.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so and maybe just like one or two little pointers to help manage emotions. Is there anything that you would suggest to our audience? When I feel like FOMO is creeping in, I do this.
Not use high leverage.
Okay, that's good. Reduce leverage.
Emotions plus leverage is generally a recipe for disaster, but some people could do well with that. I look at just like divergences generally, like the hourly and the 30-minute, if I'm like wanting to FOMO into things. So is price going higher or lower on more or less momentum? That's all I'm looking at.
Okay.
But it's also good to like go outside,
go for a walk.
Yeah, go to the gym, go to the grocery store, whatever. I don't know.
All right. So there you go. Look for confirmation of momentum from lower time frames to confirm that the move is for real.
Yeah.
And when in doubt, go for a walk.
Exactly.
Okay. When in your trading do you take profits? Do you have preset levels at which you sell, or do you only sell based on price action?
It kind of varies, which isn't great, but I've been selling all the way up just as I was buying all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who bought at 3 digits who isn't taking any profit, I think is a little silly. But you can certainly have specific parameters, stop losses, things like that. I think 10K at this point is a bullseye that we're going to hit. We'll see. I think that's a great take profit. Anywhere around that area is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you have like the sell half on a double thing, right?
Well, for one particular portfolio, for day trading setups, I have strict sort of like minimum 2-to-1 risk reward, on setups that I like to follow. I encourage people to force themselves to take profits. Really hard to do.
Yeah. But I like that. I know a lot of altcoiners don't like that because they're like, oh, we're going to let this run to 300%. But if you're always hitting a double versus hitting a home run once a month, the R&R on that is much better, obviously.
Well, I mean, I don't really, this isn't the forum to make a sales pitch for people to run little old lady strategies. Frankly speaking, I just want to own everything in crypto. So is it realistic for Brian to manage 200 different coin positions on a day-to-day basis and move stops? That's just not even realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So just, I'm one of these sort of keep it simple, silly kind of guys.
Yeah.
So, and I'm also a really big fan of working with a plan, doing what you said you're going to do.
I agree with that.
And by forcing, and it doesn't have to be sell half on a double, it could be sell a third on a triple, could be sell a quarter on a quadruple. I don't really care, whatever works for you. Just do what you say you're going to do. But that's a Brian rant. That's not what we're here for today. We're here to listen to Josh.
Back to the take profit. One thing for me was when Bitcoin hits parity with my student loans, I will pay off the loans.
That's an interesting benchmark.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute. And actually, we have one guy here, Dav, who I think, just keeping it really simple has actually made him extremely wealthy. So, hey, there he is. Nice to see you, Dav. I saw you join us a few minutes ago. Okay, next question. Yeah, okay. So just generally speaking, do you think alts are going to have their sort of normal seasonality turn here heading into next spring, summer? Or do you think that's it for alts? The game is over. You should just walk away from the space.
I mean, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, but I think alts based on greed and spec certainly have value there. So if you look at the last chart on the Brave New Coin articles, I talk about like this weird cyclical thing that's been going on since 2015 with Bitcoin, and I think alts have a yeah. So I think alts have a chance after December, so early next year again.
Yeah. I've noticed that these alts, they love to bottom into the end of the year. And I got a funny feeling it's a lot of tax driven reasons. But that's just me. So.
Yeah, no, it could be. I've heard that with Bitcoin as well. Same thing, end of the year for tax purposes.
Okay, so thank you for those questions, Alex. Jeremy asks a question. I'm not quite sure if that's a question, Jeremy. I think we actually answered that earlier. Jeremy asked, your position, quote unquote, on 2X. That's this fork coming up. I think that's what Jeremy's referring to. See here. Okay, so in essence, watch the video earlier. I think Josh talked quite a bit about his expectations around 2X, Jeremy.
Yeah, one last thing about 2X. They are doing the fork post like difficulty adjustments or in between the difficulty adjustments. So they'll have 1,152 blocks that they have to mine before a difficulty retargeting. So that means if they don't get a substantial amount of hash rate, that will take a very long time. So Segwit 2X may just die based on hash rate. The other part of it is even after the adjustment, they can only reduce the difficulty by 25%. So again, if they don't hash rate, it just dies. They can always change the difficulty retargeting algorithm, like Bitcoin Cash did, but that that's down the road. So definitely watch that. Watch that difficulty adjustment. Watch the hash rate. That's going to be huge.
All right. Are there any specific websites or resources that you would recommend people go to watch those rates?
Yeah, so I think fork.lol is
fork.lol.
Yeah, they currently have Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin. They may or may not have the Segwit2x hash rate up. I don't know who will at this point, but that'd be one site I'd check first.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So everybody grab that link, and you will be in the know. Okay, Jeremy. All right, now this is an interesting question. I'll be really interested to hear the answer to this. What is the percentage of ICOs that will make it survive? What do you think the odds are?
It's kind of going to be like, I think of it, my biology is my background, so I think of it like evolution. We have this just survival of the fittest situation, and most of them aren't. Less than 15% probably are going to do what they say they're going to do. So
15%. All right. So
that probably is high. So
that's all right. I mean, that's a total, conjecture.
Yeah.
But we appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have here. You think 2018 will be the year of the BTC fork? That we will see more forks, like 2017 was ETH ICO. You think we're going to have more forks down the road here? Do you think this just goes on endlessly?
I don't think it goes on forever, but again, back to the success of Bitcoin Cash from a perspective of creating $10 billion out of nowhere. Who doesn't want to try to do that?
Yeah.
So as long as, if it's too cheap to fork right now, anybody can do it. Bitcoin Gold's a great example. Who are these people? Where did they come from? I know nothing about the project. But essentially anybody can do it. And if they have enough media support or PR, they can get away with it, marketing, things like that. So until we see several failed attempts, I think it's just going to keep happening.
Okay. And really, the sad part about it is I often suggest that this top will be marked by some sort of crazy scandal. So maybe one of these forks that just goes wrong. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that could be Segwit2x. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is I make the argument that a big part of this Bitcoin rally has a lot to do with long-term cyclical forces.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we're right into that window where, if you go back and look at your gold chart from 1980, Bitcoin's chart right now and gold chart from them, they almost look identical. It's shocking, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last question from the group, and then we'll let Mr. Kirby Nuktum off the hook here. And you've done just an awesome job today, sir. I mean, and actually just talking to you, I like you more and more every minute. So you're the man as far as I'm concerned. So thank you so much for your time here today.
Yeah, no problem.
Niels asks our final question here today. How do you take risk off? Do you go into some of these theoretically hedge plays like SBD, NBT? I think there's a couple of the other ones, BRK or BRX, one of those, GOLD. Do you go into the tether, or do you just get the hell out and go straight into actual physical cash?
Yeah, so I don't personally go into tether, but I can see the rationale and understand the purpose of it.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, cash is king, right? So if
you're
afraid,
there's a lot of risk in owning tether.
I don't think there's risk if you're in and out, but I have a lot of questions. I don't know enough about tether to understand the fundamentals of tether.
Does anybody?
That's a good question. I don't know. If you're using it, if it's like a month or less play, you're you're parking in Tether and getting back into whatever after, you know, Segwit 2x or whatnot. I think it's a valuable option. What'd you say? So cash, we talked about. I don't like hedging into alts out of Bitcoin. This is probably the one exception, the Segwit 2x stuff, where like a hedge into Ethereum might be worth it. But that's.
And would you just avoid the NBTs, SBDs of the world completely?
Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to for those.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of these that theoretically their algorithm says they'll just move exactly opposite to whatever Bitcoin's doing.
Oh.
And Bitcoin's gone up here and all of them have cratered. But is that just normal seasonality? That's always the question.
Yeah, no, I would avoid those personally.
Okay.
You know, if you have thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands or more, you know, why are you going to risk that when you can just park it in Tether for a couple days or park it in cash for a couple days?
I noticed that some of our site members like to work stinky bids and flip these things, and we just get ridiculous fills on some of these crazy things like that gold. Some of our guys just made out like bandits on that thing. And Nils points out here that, of course, you know, a lot of the consideration around like guys like me is that I put like $500 into this thing. I'm sitting on, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit. So the question here is, if I move into cash, then that triggers a tax liability, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I do understand that there's a lot of people in this space that are sitting sort of in the same situation. And the question is, do you want to, you know, pay the tax man right away? And is there ways to maybe just keep the money in the, you know, the property of crypto without triggering that tax event?
Well, I think Tether is the ultimate, you know, non-taxable event trade.
I think that's okay. Okay, so what do you think, everybody? Did Josh do a good job here today? You know my vote. I think he's fucking awesome. Excuse my French. I'm not supposed to swear on YouTube. Whoops.
You're Canadian, man. What are you doing?
But thank you so much. What a great experience here. So we used to be able to do like little sound effects and applauses and stuff on these Hangouts. I don't think we can do that anymore, but you heard my little golf clap. Thank you so much. You knocked the cover off the ball here today, sir. And of course, you're doing just excellent work on Twitter. I love following you. Everybody, by all means, if you don't follow Josh, you know, we've given you his YouTube page. I think everybody should just go and subscribe right now. And as well, he's, what is it? Carpe Noctem, right?
Mm-hmm.
At Carpe Noctem on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. I'm
so bad with the internet here. I don't want to mess things up here. Let's see if we can just, where are you? You're on here somewhere. I know you are. We'll finish off with just a nice little screenshot. Where are you? Here you are, Carpe Noctem. So there he is, and you can actually get Josh's report that we talked about here in the video by just going and following him there and grabbing that link. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, very much for participating today. Big shout out, big thank you to Josh. I think we'll probably leave it at that. We took a good hour of his time today, so thank you, sir. I hope everybody on the site enjoyed the presentation, and I hope everybody on YouTube enjoyed that as well. So have yourselves a great trading day, everybody. Play safe. Try and work with a trading plan. Try and play from a position of strength. Don't be taking too big of bites. And remember, your number one job is to make sure that you can come back and play this game again tomorrow. So have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.